Welcome to Revisiting Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes. This is part 7. Talking about volume 6 now. We're on the penultimate disc / video, and then of course next week will be the finale of this whole thing, and then of course your bonus episode. And yeah, I'm excited to talk about this because this is, I think, where this season really does sort of ramp up into, greatness. But I think it's still this season, I will say, and this is kind of nice to find, this season actually is better than I sort of always thought it was, because I always think of season 1 as being this great season with some hiccups, of course, but this great season. And then season 2, I've always felt like it had drop-offs, and I've been to this whole show multiple times, and I think just with a bit of perspective and a bit of age, kind of like with Young Justice season 2, where I think Young Justice season 2, not quite as good as season 1, but season 1 wasn't perfect, and season 2 I think binges better than it was week to week. And this is, I think, the same way. It's this show got canned, as we talked last time, after Along Came the Spider and Behold the Vision, I guess, as well, came out. This show got canceled because it wasn't enough like the MCU. And I think it also maybe got canceled because, we'll get to it, but maybe because of also some slight, maybe being a little too close to the MCU. I forget exactly the reason why this show got canceled, but I know it was because it wasn't enough like the MCU, and no toy sales. I know those were the two definitive reasons, but everything else I'm really fuzzy on. But anyone in the comments who knows better than me, of course, comment below, let me know. But yeah, so that leads us to episode 14. I think I said this last time. This restarts the count. This is 1 to 12 because it's the final 12 episodes of the show. It goes from 1 to 12. I don't know if you can see that. It's a little fuzzy, but yeah. But here we go. Episode 1 of the second half of season 2. Along Came a Spider. This actually is a literary reference. Because one of the teachers in my hallway back when I went to in junior year of high school had a book titled Along Came a Spider. It was a purple book, Along Came a Spider. And I was like, oh, that's a book reference, which makes me retroactively think that the Ant-Man and the Hill is a literary reference from season 1. See, it's all connected. But this episode is about Spider-Man showing up. This is directly after the Secret Invasion happens, and Iron Man's look, J. Jonah Jameson, played by J.K. Simmons, Captain America is not a traitor. You can't keep slandering him in your newspaper. He's not a traitor. You've been told this by me. You've been told by S.H.I.E.L.D. You've been told by the President of the United States himself that the Captain America who said to submit to the Skrulls was, in fact, himself a Skrull. And the real Captain America is back. And this actually also takes place before Behold the Vision. I realized that, immediately. And I was like, damn. Whatever. No harm, no foul. Because he has the oval shield Cap does in this episode. He has the oval shield that, in Ultimate Avengers and in the first Captain America movie, gets a fist-sized dent in it, and is also the shield he had when he debuted in the 1940s punching Hitler. I'm kind of interested to know what the original origin of that shield was, because I'm sure they didn't say it was vibranium for Wakanda. I don't know. I'm gonna have to Google that. But of course, JK is J. Jonah Jameson is whatever. This, what I'm saying sells papers, and I'm allowed to say whatever I want. the only way I will stop saying this and retract or whatever is if you give me an exclusive with this alien, perfectly green, tiny, and just like Captain America. And Iron Man's like, I can't do that, but I can get you an exclusive with a real Cap. So he calls in Betty Brant, played by Grey DeLisle from Spectacular Spider-Man, and says, you and whoever, whatever photographer you want, go interview Captain America. And they call in Peter Parker, and Peter Parker is in this played by Drake Bell. But if you know about the show, you know that this was supposed to connect Spectacular Spider-Man with the overall little cinematic universe that Craig Kyle and Chris Yost created. Spectacular Spider-Man, this show confirms, or something like Spectacular Spider-Man. This show confirms that Wolverine the X-Men, Hulk versus Thor and Wolverine, Spectacular Spider-Man, like I said, and Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, 3 TV shows and 1 movie, are connected in the same Yost-verse, essentially, Christopher Yost universe. And this episode was supposed to confirm that. Marvel, due to corporate synergy and wanting corporate synergy, was like, actually, no, Drake Bell, we wanted Spider-Man to be Drake Bell, so they had Drake Bell completely dub over, at least for this episode, as far as I'm aware, dub over Peter's, Josh Keaton, who played Spider-Man in Spectacular Spider-Man. Josh Keaton, this was supposed to be his farewell performance. I imagine a part of me thinks that Josh Keaton probably was in all 3 episodes Spider-Man has a voice in, this episode, New Avengers, and the finale. But it's never been confirmed if that was the case, but it has been confirmed that he did record lines for this episode, and they had Drake Bell dub over him for, like I said, corporate synergy with Ultimate Spider-Man. And something that I discovered, I think in 2018, I don't know if anyone else has talked about this, I don't know, but if you watch that episode and you listen closely to the episode the scene in the dock where Betty Brant is talking to Hawkeye before they officially go into the convoy, Peter at one point asks, "Is this safe?" And of course Hawkeye says no. But he says, "Is this safe?" That line is Josh Keaton. That's Josh Keaton's voice. It's just that Josh Keaton, was trying to sound, young. He was trying to sound like, Peter Parker. So, you can kind of just not, pay attention to it. But something I realized, years ago was that that's actually Josh Keaton and is the only, I think, surviving piece of Josh Keaton's performance in this show. And that's really cool. I guess, maybe a sound engineer probably missed that. I don't think it was on purpose. I think he just missed it and didn't realize that Peter had a line there. And, it happens. Everyone makes mistakes. But I thought that was kind of cool when I realized that. And now you guys watching know about this. And I don't know. But, you have to... It's a very quiet line. But if you listen... And I listened to it, twice when I was watching this episode today, just to make sure... That's Josh Keaton, and that's really cool. But all that being said, I think Drake Bell actually did do a good job. Sometimes a good script can elevate a bad actor. We've seen this happen plenty of times throughout, I guess, the history of television and movies, where a good script can make a not so great actor be better. And honestly, I feel like Drake Bell is pretty good in this episode. He kind of like Robbie Damont, who played, Spider-Man in the 2017 Marvel Spider-Man cartoon. Outside of that show where he's written as an annoying know-it-all, Robbie's actually pretty good as Spider-Man because he was Spider-Man in some other things. And I think although Drake Bell was always sort of... His Spider-Man performances were very much detained in that very mediocre Disney XD Marvel Universe thing. you know, I actually think that this episode is actually, you know, written greatly because of Christopher Yost, but I think Drake Bell actually did a pretty good job because the performance isn't, I mean, he is funny because it's Spider-Man, he has comedy, but like there's also some dramatic stuff. And Drake Bell, you know, never really was a great actor, but I think he was able to flex some of those acting chops in this episode, and I think it works. And I love what Captain America says to Spider-Man, where he's like, look, you know, J. Jonah Jameson may, like, say bad things about you every day, but I've talked to policemen, firemen, people you've saved. I know that you are a hero. You know, sort of like what he said to Hulk last season. He's like, you are a hero. No matter if J. Jonah Jameson believes it, and no matter what other people say, you have consistently proven who you are. And, you know, that's so great. And, of course, there's some good, amazing Captain America moments in this episode in general that I think it just, you know, it helps. And, of course, you know, Brian Bloom, I mean, I love Chris Evans, but I think Brian Bloom is my favorite actor to play Captain America like ever. Because he just, this show just wrote Captain America so well. They understood exactly how Captain America should, you know, be portrayed and did it brilliantly. I mean, the MCU also did good, but like MCU Cap is slightly different than like comic book Cap, and they're kind of doing just classic comic book Captain America, and even though there are some similarities between, you know, both versions. So it's cool, and I do like it. And I will say that Vanessa Marshall actually does a good job as Madame Viper here. I guess she's better at doing English accents. Because I do think she's a good actress. You know, I love her in Star Wars Rebels, and accents are hard. As someone who, like, as a kid when I was younger, I would do funny voices and funny accents. You know, I know that accents are hard. So, and granted, I'm not like a professional voice actor. I'm not a professional anything, honestly. Just ask my family. But, that being said, like, accents are hard. And I think she does a good job here. And I want to compliment her performance at least once in this series. Because, I don't know. She's an actress. She's doing her job. I don't know how she was cast as Black Widow, but she's a good actress, so good for her. But yeah, it's nice. It's fun. You have the Serpent Society like quite a bit in this episode, and yeah, they work. And overall, I like this episode. It's a great episode. It's a real highlight, and I like it. It's funny, it's fun, it's great. It's what this, I think it encapsulates what makes this show so brilliant. That being said, now to episode 2, Assault on 42. So this episode sees Captain America, Thor, Wasp, and Miss Marvel. They go and visit the prison in the Negative Zone 42. They go to visit that prison to drop off Whirlwind, and it seems that prison, the 42, has been experiencing some technical failures, you know, power outages, stuff like that. And of course, the prisoners, especially the leader, as he has the big brain and, you know, super smart, have been complaining about, you know, some strange phenomenon going on. And of course, they realize that, you know, there are massive space bugs in the negative, you know, in the Negative Zone. And Annihilus is also there. And Annihilus is controlling them with his, like, magic wand. And now the Avengers have to team up with all the villains in that prison to fend off, you know, Assault on 42, just like that movie, Assault on Precinct 13, the John Carpenter movie. They have to defend their, the prison from these evil space bugs, and of course ultimately Annihilus. And so this is not as bad as I remembered it. I've always because I guess younger me, 10 years ago me, always thought that this show was bad, and so I skipped it. I would always skip it in my big, rewatches, in my binges. And I was like, you wanna know what? I'm an adult. I'm I'm supposed to be a professional YouTuber. I'm a reviewer. I have to review and assess everything, whether or not I like it. I sat through, 300, and I sat through the 5th Transformers movie for you guys. I will do this. I will sit through this episode. And you want to know what? This episode, while I do think, you've seen this Assault on Precinct 13 type of thing going on before, where the heroes and the prisoners have to team up or whatever, or if the hero is a prisoner, they have to team up with the people who arrested them. You've seen this type of storyline before, whether that was in Ash versus the Evil Dead, or the 2nd season of Punisher on Netflix. You've seen this type of thing before, and I feel like it's just not done well. And it has, of course, great performances, great animation. The cast is top notch. The animation has consistently been good. It's really impressive, even though I bet you all those bugs, when they swarm, are probably, computer generated. The bugs look impressive. It's all nice and fun, but you've seen this type of story done better. And Annihilus, who I know of thanks to the Fantastic Four cartoon that I brought up, last video, World's Greatest Heroes from the mid 2000s, that show did Annihilus, and Annihilus was great. He was a one-time villain. He talked, and he was a good, solid villain. Even Superhero Squad show, which is commonly seen as a lesser, Marvel show that I actually liked as a kid. I liked Superhero Squad. I thought it was funny. It's if I could snap my fingers and bring any Marvel show back, and it would be perfect for the streaming model, I think it would be Superhero Squad show, because Superhero Squad was a fun little Marvel cartoon that people of all ages could enjoy. It was a nice little family-friendly show. It had fun action, it had fun characters, fun dialogue, it had humor for the kids and the adults. It was great. And granted, I think the 26th episode, we gotta collect Infinity Stones, Infinity Fractals thing, I think would probably get a little old if we continued to do that. So chop the episode count in half, make it 13 episodes, and just have it be some fun little show you could have on with your kids. And I think it'd do well. But even they did Annihilus pretty damn good. And that stings to say, because this is such a great show all the way around, even though it has some clunkers, that, you didn't do Annihilus correctly. And Annihilus should be simple. He's essentially an evil king in an alternate dimension. How hard is that? And I don't know, that's my biggest complaint, is that they did Annihilus wrong. And this was, for the longest time, I thought, the worst episode of the show. It most certainly is, like I said, in the bottom 3. 300. Is that called? Yeah, 459. The 15th episode of the first season. That is the 3rd worst episode of the whole show, because it's half a bad episode, half a decent episode. Of course, you have Powerless, which is the bonus episode, which probably is actually the worst episode of this entire show. I think Assault on 42 is right down the middle, because it has good acting and good good at everything else. It's just that it's written horribly and the villain is trash. Next is episode 3, which is Ultron Unlimited. So the Vision shows back up, and him along with synthezoids, basically replicants from Blade Runner, these synthezoids that are made from the Avengers. Ultron is now going to try to kidnap and eliminate the Avengers, replace them with these synthezoids, and him and the Vision are going to lead this army of fake Avengers or the squad of fake Avengers and, control the world and make it entirely run by humans or run by a machine. And, of course, the Vision has some issues because, like with Ultron was based off the human brain. He has flaws. He, as the Wasp points out, makes himself a girlfriend. He does have, in the show, he has flaws that are from his, human half. Well, the Vision also has these flaws. And Captain America, Vision, he gets angry and burns the Wasp's arm, even though he was supposed to not harm the Wasp. And he's like, correction, something happened, correcting flaw. And then, of course, he sees Cap, and Cap's like, I'm not fighting just for me, because Cap, unsurprisingly, defeats his synthezoid. And then he uses the Hollow Shield, which they call an energy shield. I feel like we're saying the same thing. And Cap is like, I'm not just fighting to save my own life. I'm fighting to, save my team. And Ultron, of course, sees that as a weakness. And Vision, over the course of the episode, begins to see that as what makes humanity, beautiful. Flawed but beautiful, and what makes humanity interesting. So he, of course, sides with the Avengers and becomes an Avenger. And it's nice. It's fun. It's a nice episode that doesn't definitively conclude, obviously, the Ultron stuff, but it's a nice enough sort of sequel to what they were doing in the Ultron duology that it works. And Ultron is a good character. And yeah, it's fun. Next is episode 4, Yellow Jacket. Yellow Jacket, like I said, Hank's journey goes dark. And Yellow Jacket is sort of a dark personality that that has developed in Hank Pym, because Hank Pym, he was distraught by the destruction that Ultron did in this environment that the Avengers have, and that he... he's a pacifist, but yet he's been fighting, and, he's, gone a little stir crazy, locked up in his lab, and he's working on a little prison. Well, Iron Man's like, look, this is a horrible idea, but maybe we could develop it, at Stark Tower, maybe be around your friends, maybe have some good, good food, maybe nice rest because you look horrible. And Hank's like, ugh, you guys just don't get it. And he, an explosion goes off in his lab, and it turns out that an alternate personality called Yellow Jacket has sort of taken over, and now there's that. Hank Pym is no more. Yellow Jacket is a violent anti-hero, or a vigilante at the very least. And yeah, I think Wally Wingert does a good job. He's basically doing a Batman voice. And I think that this is a pretty good episode. It's notable because it's the first episode written and sort of co-created, for lack of a better word, by Man of Action. Man of Action, at the time, you may recognize them if you're a fan of this channel, because they're a group of 4 writers. Jack Kelly, who was the writer of not only the film Superman vs. the Elite, which is one of my favorite Superman movies ever, Superman vs. the Elite. He also wrote the comic that film was based off of. Jack Kelly is a really good writer. He also did some stuff for Deadpool, a very important Deadpool run. Him and a few other, like 3 other dudes, are called the Man of Action. They created Ben 10, and they were working at the time on Ultimate Spider-Man, which is the kind of like the best of that mediocre era of Marvel animation that came about last decade. Marvel was happy with what they're doing with Ultimate Spider-Man. They're like, maybe for, I guess, like the second half of season 2 of Earth's Mightiest Heroes, go and help those guys. So they were the creative consultant from this episode forward, creative consultant, and they wrote this episode. And I will say, this episode's pretty good. It's nice, it's fun. It honestly kind of feels slightly like Ben 10, which is funny. But they were the creative consultants and wrote this episode. It's nice. Of course, it ends with Hank Pym, or Yellow Jacket being like, I'm an alternate personality. Hank Pym is dead. Maybe you guys could have used me. And of course, Iron Man being like, yeah, you're kind of crazy. Hank Pym is always welcome back to the Avengers, but you're not. Of course, he does become an Avenger. Kind of, like, loosely. Over the next few episodes, but whatever. Or at least he shows up. He might not be an official Avenger, but he shows up at the very least throughout the next few for the rest of the season. And yeah, it's nice. It's a nice enough episode. Episode 5, Emperor Stark. So at some point in the Breakout, I think Breakout Part 2, you see the Purple Man, who is a Jessica Jones villain. He basically can influence people with sort of his mind powers. He basically says, you want to rob this bank for me, and he has to stay close to them, but he can influence them to rob banks and all this kind of stuff. And he is an integral part to the Jessica Jones character, and was the main villain of that first season of the Netflix show. He's played by Brent Spiner here, and Brent Spiner, I think, is a good enough actor. I've only seen 20 episodes, maybe the first season of Star Trek Next Generation. Most of those movies, the 4 films based off that show, were kind of garbage, except for one. And I'm not I'm not really the biggest fan or the biggest hater of Brent Spiner. He is the worst, I think, Joker that we've had, ever. But he's a good enough actor. I'm lukewarm on him. And he does a good job here. And he also did a good job as Puck in Gargoyles. And yeah, this is a good episode. Tony Stark, he, in the Kang trilogy, talked about how he was a futurist and he wants to lead us into a better tomorrow with technology and, always looking towards the future. And of course, because the Purple Man influences people, he sort of lets Iron Man live out his fantasy of a perfect world. There's these giant Iron Man-sized Sentinels. These Sentinel-sized Iron Man robots, and there's a bunch of other Iron Legion-esque Iron Man robots that are droids. And Tony is basically become the Emperor of the world thanks to the influence of the Purple Man. Well, a day before Purple Man shows up and influences Tony, the Vision was set to reboot for 30 days, get repaired, all that kind of stuff, because he got destroyed somewhat or slightly damaged in the Ultron episode. So Vision wakes up, interfaces with Jarvis, Cap finds them, and of course they save the day by slowly de-brainwashing all the other Avengers. And it's nice, it's fun. It's a good little side episode. And of course it ends with Tony Stark being like, is this I'm a futurist, is this the future that I want? Because yeah, the Purple Man influenced me, but a lot of that was inside me, this wanting to control everything, and this idea of a better tomorrow, is this what I'm, ultimately aiming for? And Cap, of course, said, no, you're, you believe that this feature is possible. You know, this wasn't the best way to get about it, but you think this feature is possible. You are ultimately optimistic. You are a futurist. You know, will eventually get there, but you were just, you know, you sent me, you seemingly purposely forgot about the Vision, you know, that he was going to reboot in like 30 days. You purposely sent me to go to the Avengers Mansion because you knew that that Vision could de-brainwash me. Like, you did things because even under full Purple Man control, you are still a hero. You are still, you know, a great guy. And that's how the episode ends. And that's what I love about Captain America. I've said this multiple times throughout this. I've done the math. The first like 6 parts of this series basically adds up to like an hour or 2 hours and 50 minutes. When I'm done with all this, you know, when this is all said and done, I'll probably have 30 minutes or 3 hours worth of content. Like, this is what I wanted. I want to go in depth and talk about all this, and I'm happy that I'm doing it. But, you know, but I'll say it again, because I've said this throughout all these videos, but, you know, Captain America is, I think, the perfect vision of what like America could be, because he's optimistic, he's brave, he's, you know, a heroic person, you know, he's a soldier, he's what America can be. We just have to, as a society, get us there. You know, he's the goalpost, I guess, if you want to say. And that's why I love Captain America. And next is episode 6, Code Red. So Code Red is actually part 1 of 2. Part 2 will be covered next time because it's on disc 2 of this volume. But Code Red, this guy named Dale Rusk, you know, he was behind the Red Hulk attack, and he finally, you know, is showing up on news and like, hey, the Avengers are dangerous. Like, look at all this stuff they've done. You know, danger, danger, danger. He's fear-mongering. He's also the director of the Secretary of Defense. And him and his Code Red team, comprised of the Winter Soldier, Red Hulk, Samson, you know, Doc Samson, and the Falcon. Well, the Red Hulk fights Thor like near the Statue of Liberty. The rest of them break into Avengers Mansion after a like biological weapon detonates and turns everyone sickly, and they're like skin red and makes them look like the Red Skull. And that's how Captain America figures out like, oh, this Rusk guy might be the Red Skull. Bucky, you know, the Winter Soldier, kidnaps Cap during all the commotion as Iron Man tries to cure the Avengers, and as you know, Falcon tries to reclaim the detonating device, the bomb. And Hawkeye's like, I recognize this. This is from like the DoD. And that's when Iron Man realizes, oh, Rusk is behind this. We see Rusk, and Rusk is like, Captain America, this, you know, this is perfect. It's, you know, having you right in front of me. And then, of course, Cap's like, I know you're the Red Skull, rips off his mask, and Cap's like, Cap rips off Rusk's mask. Also, Dale Rusk, if you look, like, in the credits, Dale Rusk is literally the Red Skull, just with some letters mixed around there. And yeah, it's fun stuff, and I think it's slightly influenced by of course what they did in the Captain America comics back in the 70s during like the Watergate scandal, you know, where Cap is, you know, which I feel like is kind of a lesser known thing about the Captain America comics from the 70s, but like Cap is, you know, he gets a hold of, or on the track of like a conspiracy, and that conspiracy leads him to the White House, and because Nixon was evil, or, you know, corrupt, it's like, oh, the main bad guy of this whole storyline in the comics was Nixon. What? although they don't say Nixon, they say the President of the United States, but it's implied to be Nixon because Watergate. And yeah, it's all well and done, all well and good. Cap gets, gets the cure from the, Red Skull pox, gets the cure from Bucky, Winter Soldier, who is, very serious. And then Cap, gets, Cap defeats the Red Skull, but the Red Skull escapes for next time. And then Cap has the suspicion that the Winter Soldier may be more than he seems. And that's where this episode ends, with the Red Skull pox being cured and most of the team Red, except for the Winter Soldier and Red Hulk, being arrested and brought to like the Hydro prison. And yeah, it's all well and good, you know what I mean? This is a good episode. It's an episode I quite like. I think this and the Winter Soldier episode together make a really good, solid conclusion to this, this like Red Hulk, Red Skull, Winter Soldier sort of storyline that they have in this season. It's kind of the only subplot, like major subplot in this season that like gets concluded here, because like I said multiple times, they dropped the ball on Surtur. And yeah, it feels kind of nice. To see this and be like, yes, a great episode. It's also directed, conveniently enough, by Boyd Kirtland. And yeah, I believe. And yeah, it's fun. It's all well and good. And yeah, it's nice. And sorry, I'm trying to think of a segue, because next time we'll be talking about Disc 2, the ultimate finale of this whole thing. Last time I talked about how I think this is going to be the best, some of the best content I've made. And don't worry, I'm not like getting like a big head about it. Like, I know that like, I don't really have a lot of subscribers. I have, I've really worked my way up to this level of like, I think I'm actually pretty good. I'm not like amazing. I don't think I'm an amazing reviewer or like content creator, but I think I do think that I've worked like the struggle and the grind, I think, well enough that I think I've gotten better over the years. And I'm so happy that you sat through this and watched and, heard me talk about this. And I hope that thank you for watching, and I hope that you've been watching this whole series. If you haven't, the playlist will be down in the description below. And yeah, this is ultimately like a really great show. It's as great as you remember it. If you have not seen it, go to Disney Plus, watch it, please. And yeah, I can't wait to talk about the next half, the final few episodes, I'm excited. So that's it for now. Remember, that guy made it special. He loves you very much. I hope you've had a very nice week. I hope you had a very nice day. And I hope you enjoyed this video, because we got one more to go.